Where is peace? The pursuit of peace has been a dominant theme even in the last 115 years in our news. Alfred Nobel's Peace Prize, which you'll see right there, is given to one person every year since 1901, and it's given to the person who has, quote, done the most for the abolition or reduction of standing armies and for the holding and promotion of peace conventions. After World War I, there's something called the League of Nations established, and mostly due to the efforts of our president, Woodrow Wilson, and the Paris Peace Convention conference that happened that ended World War I. We all learned probably in history class that the League of Nations failed. It did not work. We all know about something else that happened right after it, which kind of demonstrated that it didn't work, called World War II. Right? World War II happened, and after World War II ended, the United Nations was established. And 51 nations signed on at the beginning. It's still going. We have 193 nations that are part of it. At the UN headquarters, there's a statue that was gifted by the government of the USSR. And the statue, there you'll see it, is called Let Us Beat Our Swords into Plowshares. It was created by a Soviet artist, and it's a sculpture of, as you see, a guy holding a hammer in one hand and a sword in the other, and he's beating it into a useful tool. And it's meant to symbolize, it comes from an actual Hebrew prophecy from the Bible, it's meant to symbolize man's desire to put an end to war and to convert the means of destruction, the sword, into creative tools for the benefit of mankind. And it's located in the gardens of the United Nations headquarters. In the 60s and 70s, there was a big peace movement. John Lennon was one of the artists that was kind of the voice for this movement. He wrote a lot of what you would call civilian anti-war songs, and one of them, probably the most sustainable, one that's lasted, is called Imagine. Here are some lyrics to it. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. We have a lot of common phrases and cliches that use the word peace. Peace of mind, I'm at peace with it. Rest in peace. Peace out. Peace be with you. Can I have another piece of pie? Sorry, it's a different kind, but I'm also passionate about that. And then there's this stereotyped answer in beauty pageants that this clip from Miss Congeniality kind of points fun at. In 1958, a guy by the name of Gerald Holtham tried to develop what would be a universal symbol for peace that everyone could use, and he used the art of semaphore, which is basically spelling the alphabet with flags. And so he took the two flag formations for the letter N, which is like this, and the letter D, which is like this, and he superimposed them on each other, and he made a symbol. And here's what he came up with. You guys seen that before? Okay, and why the N in the D? Why the N and the D? Nuclear disarmament is what that stands for. But according to people close to him, he regretted this design for the rest of his life. Because according to many, he had inadvertently recreated a symbol which Nazis had used in their mass murder of Jews, which Romans had used in their mass murder of Christians, and which Satan worshipers have used to mean total death to all people. Whoops. Right? The opposite of what he's trying to accomplish. And the only reason I share that is because it pretty much accurately sums up, I think, the kind of ironic mess that results from most of our human attempts to create and promote peace in the world. Yet efforts continue. For instance, President-elect Trump is part of a long legacy of world leaders trying to bring peace to the Middle East, saying a few weeks ago that he thinks that his son-in-law can broker peace there. And that's an endeavor that has yet to have any sustainable results over the last 4,000 years, at least. Peace eludes us. So does that mean we should stop pursuing peace? Is it worth all the effort? I mean, where did this idea of the world living in peace even come from? As usual, let's start in the beginning. Where man and woman are at peace with God, they're at peace with each other, they're at peace with animals, they're at peace with the earth, and they're at peace with the whole cosmos. It's a state of being called shalom. It's the interwebbing of all created things as they are each in perfect relationship with God, and therefore in perfect relationship with each other. That's what shalom means. But shalom was shattered when humans were exiled from the garden, when they insisted that they needed to rule themselves, and therefore they broke that right relationship with God. So they were exiled from the garden, and people have continued to live in a world without shalom ever since. But you and I are wired for shalom. We're wired for peace with God. We lost it. We feel it. We're wired for shalom. We're wired for peace with other people, but we lost it, and we feel it. And in our most honest moments, we would all admit that we are longing for a return to shalom. If you could break down the religion of Judaism that's based in the Old Testament, I think a good way to describe it would be a longing for shalom. A longing for shalom. The prophets often spoke of a return to shalom that God was planning for the future. Their words are announcements of the ultimate triumph of truth and justice and God's coming kingdom. And we're going to look at some of those words this morning. So Isaiah 60 is where we'll start. Isaiah 60, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's super long, but I'll read some selected sections from it. Arise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples, but the Lord will arise upon you, and his glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They all gather together. They come to you. Your sons shall come from far away, and your daughters shall be carried on their nurses' arms. Then you shall see and be radiant. Your heart shall thrill and rejoice, because the abundance of the sea shall be brought to you. The wealth of the nations shall come to you. A multitude of camels shall cover you, the young camels of Midian and that other place. And those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and frankincense and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. I will appoint peace as your overseer and righteousness as your taskmaster. Violence shall no more be heard in your land. Devastation or destruction within your borders. You shall call your walls salvation and your gates praise. God, the sun shall no longer be the light by day, nor for brightness shall the moon give light to you by night, but the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. Your sun shall no more go down, your moon withdraw itself, for the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning shall be ended. Now, the interesting thing about many of the prophets' words, including these, is that they're focused on a land or a city, namely the city of Jerusalem. And all the wars that would be fought and the blood that would be shed appeared to be in order to recapture the Holy Land, to retake the city, and to see it become the center of world peace. to witness the temple being rebuilt in all of its splendor and glory. I mean, in the prophet's words, we hear about the ruins being built, devastations being raised up, riches being restored. Abraham's descendants heard words like these, and they built up this hopeful expectation of a coming king that would bring about a new age called the age to come, in which Israel would be the epicenter of light for the world. There's something important to clarify here about their belief and kind of where we are on the backside. They're anticipating a Messiah, but their hope is not actually in the Messiah. Their hope is in what the Messiah will bring, specifically the age to come. He will usher in this new era, this new age, and that's what their hope is in. Their hope is in what he will do for their land. They didn't believe that the Messiah would be God himself. They believed that he would just be a human that was empowered by God to judge righteously and to do good things, to be military power. And the fact that, like we today as Christians, hold that Jesus was the Messiah, Hebrew people still find that to be preposterous and blasphemous. He would just be a human appointed by God to lead in a righteous way, according to them. But according to the gospel writers, the rabbis and scribes didn't quite understand what the prophets were saying in texts like Isaiah 60. They claimed that the prophets weren't speaking about a city. They were speaking of a child. For instance, Isaiah said a bright light over the Holy Land would shine that all could see. It happened. Yes, just like Isaiah, people from South Arabia would come riding camels, bringing gifts of gold and frankincense to proclaim the praise of the Lord. Yes, just like Isaiah said, the darkness surrounding them would be overcome by the everlasting light. But not because of a military campaign led by a zealous warlord. Rather, a baby that would come subtly into the night. This becomes slightly more clear when Zechariah speaks a little later about the Messiah, although this text must have been extremely confusing to try to figure out what it meant. Here's what it says, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter Jerusalem. Look, your king comes to you. Triumphant and victorious is he, humble and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. He will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the war horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall command peace to the nations. His dominion shall be from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth." So there's a few promises about this coming king. The new king will destroy all the tools of war. I think these will be popping up here. The new king will speak peace to the nations. The new king will have a rule that covers the whole earth. So these are some promises that are there. All the tools of war are gone. He will speak peace to the nations, and his rule will go from the Euphrates River to the ends of the earth. It's expanding all the way to cover the whole earth. And those are the promises. But there's another promise. I didn't put it on the screen. This is the most confounding one, most confusing one. The new king will lead in a weird way, with humility, yet with universal authority. How's that happen? How do you lead with humility and yet everyone submits to you? How do you have universal authority yet you're not riding in on a stallion like Alexander the Great? You're riding in on a donkey. He's not arrogant. He's not proud. He's not demanding. But he is commanding that war ceases. And he is commanding that all people will live in peace in his kingdom. And somehow, his reign extends over the whole earth. This is a return to shalom. Isaiah 11 paints a real vivid picture of what this might be like. A shoot shall come out of the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see or decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. He doesn't apparently need a sword, doesn't need a stallion, because he speaks and peace happens. Interesting. See, where did I leave off here? Righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, and faithfulness the belt around his loins. Now listen to this. This is weird. The wolf shall live with the lamb. Well, I mean, wolves eat lambs, right? The leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, hanging out. Their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand in the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. On that day, the root of Jesse shall stand as a signal to the peoples. The nations shall inquire of him, and his dwelling shall be glorious. So from these texts that we've read, here's what we know about the kind of peace that the Messiah is going to bring. He's going to bring peace between God and humans. Peace between God and humans. I'm going to talk in a minute about how that's the real important one. He'll bring peace between humans and other humans. He's going to bring peace nation to nation. And he's going to bring peace humans and creation. Like you can just let your kid play with snakes. That's what Isaiah said. Humans and creation. So the gospel writers claim that Jesus is this king. One of the most clear texts that parallels Zechariah 9 is Luke 19. And this is very clearly, as Jesus does this, he is claiming, I am the Messiah. I'm the one you've been waiting for. Listen to this. When he came near to Bethany at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of the disciples, saying, go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you'll find tied there a colt that's never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, why are you untying it? Just say this, the Lord needs it. So those who were sent departed and found it as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owners asked, why are you untying the colt? And they said, the Lord needs it. So next time you're stealing something, try this. Right? What are you doing? The Lord needs it. I mean, how can you argue with that? Apparently it worked, because then they brought it to Jesus, and after throwing their cloaks on the colt, they set Jesus on it. As he rode along, people kept spreading their cloaks on the ground. As he was now approaching the path down from the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to praise God joyfully with a loud voice for all the deeds of power that they had been saying. Remember, rejoice greatly, O Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter Jerusalem. Your king comes to you triumphant and victorious as he. They're saying, blessed is the king who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest heaven. And everyone was happy. No. So there's some teachers of the law, some Pharisees standing by, and they said to him, hey, teacher, order your disciples to stop. And he answered, if these were silent, the stones would cry out. He came near and he saw the city, he wept over it, saying, if you, even you, had only recognized on this day the things that make for peace, if you had only realized what real peace is about, but now they're hidden from your eyes. Indeed, the days will come upon you when your enemies will set up ramparts around you and surround you, and they'll hem you in on every side. They will crush you to the ground, you and your children within you, and they will not leave within you one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation from God. Note the cheering on of peace in verse 38. We now have peace because the Messiah is here. Note his comment that creation knows what's happening right now. And if people don't respond, creation will. Creation's responding to the return to shalom. And know what Jesus says about peace in verse 42. If you would have noticed, if you would have understood what real peace is for, then you would be experiencing it. But now it's hidden from your eyes. In other words, you haven't understood how it will bring peace. And because of it, you will not experience it. What's happening here? Well, the worst problem, the foundational problem in our world that prevents shalom from happening is separation of God and humans. And it's a separation that's caused by our sin. And that needed dealt with first and foremost, because until God and humans have a right relationship between them, the created order never will. Don't you see this? The Prince of Peace and King of Kings came not to build an army that would travel to the ends of the earth, conquering territory and demanding submission to his authority. No, he came to cut straight to the heart of the issue, to do battle and to conquer humanity's number one enemy, sin. You heard Colossians 1 on the communion video earlier. Part of it says, "For in Jesus all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him God was pleased to reconcile to himself all things, whether on heaven or on earth, by making peace through military conquest." No. By making peace through promoting harmony everywhere he went. No. By making peace through the blood on the cross. One of the falsehoods promoted through the Enlightenment is that we can bring about peace through human intellect, or through human invention, or through human institution. But to believe this is to dismiss the thing that undercut shalom in the first place, which is the human desire for independence from God. Malcolm Muggeridge, I think is his name. He's a British journalist. He once wrote that the enthronement of the human ego is in opposition to the cross, and he's right. The prophets were envisioning a day when the Messiah would come to bring peace to the ends of the earth by dealing with the foundational human problem. But many in Abraham's family caused Jesus to weep at the sight of the city. The city, the prophet said, would be restored, because the people had not repented. They wouldn't lay aside their pride and repent, so there would be no peace for them. So how does all this play into the Advent series? Well, remember a few weeks ago we said that the incarnation is not just a historical event, it's an ongoing reality that each new generation gets to experience. So as we anticipate Christmas, where we'll celebrate the arrival of the earth's king, we are suspended with the Israelites in a longing for shalom and a longing for peace. And that's not something that we have to manufacture. It's something that we already feel. War is still ravaging countries. Relationships are still being broken apart. And so we wait. And we hold fast to a promise about a king who would bring peace, who would cover the whole earth. But our waiting is a little bit different. See, the Messiah has come, and his law is love, and his gospel is peace. And chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. He has inaugurated his kingdom, and peace is here. Peace has come, and through his church, through you, peace should be flooding the earth. As we hopefully and expectantly look forward to the day when it will be made a reality. When his rule and reign will become final, and peace will cover the whole earth. We're going to sing a song. And there's a few different invitations that I would like to give to you. One is regarding that fundamental human problem. Are you at peace with God? If you're not at peace with God, there will never be peace in your life. Remember, that is the great lie that the serpent told, was that independence from God can get you anything that you want. Independence from God is better. And Jesus, the Messiah, says, no, the only way that you'll ever have peace is through me, through the kingdom that I am establishing. So have you made peace with God? Because part of that text that we read in Colossians 1 says, if you haven't, you are an enemy of God. It says that we were once enemies, but now those of us who are far off have been brought close by the blood of Christ. Have you made peace with God? Second, are you at peace with others? There very well may be some person in this room that you are not at peace with. You're divided from them. You have not had shalom in your relationship, and I don't know why. I have no idea. But there's not peace in your relationships. But you need to have peace with one another. Maybe there's division among you. Maybe you're holding on to bitterness in your heart towards someone. Well, you need to fix that if you're a part of this kingdom. As you make peace with God, then you make peace with others. And if you don't make peace with others, then maybe you haven't made peace with God. I'm real serious about that because Jesus is real serious about that. If you make peace with God, then you make peace with others. And if you haven't made peace with others, then maybe you're not at peace with God. Maybe you don't understand what kind of peace he came to bring.